So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we are just going to tie a knot into the yarn, just because chenille yarn can sometimes fray and you'll get these little bits that come off until you secure it at the end. So because it's quite thick, I like to do a double knot. And then what we need to do is make our slip knot for our first stitch. So I try to line that up with the knot, but it's not a big deal if you don't. So if you make your slip knot to start with, then we have our first stitch. Okay, so then we take our left hand needle and pop it through there, and as you would have practiced with the sample or practice yarn, we're going to cast on our stitches. So for this one we need to, or our baby blanket, we need 27 stitches. So we're just going to cast those on now. Remember that you can pause this and start and stop and re-watch if you need to. Just going to slip that through there and pop that over there. Just untangle my yarn. Right, so that's our 2 stitches. Our third one. One, two, three, 4. Okay, so we've got our 27 stitches here, and if you had a little scan through the pattern, you'll see that you've got the row checker, so you could tick off as you go along so that you don't lose track of your rows. So it's a 4-row pattern, and then those 4 rows just keep repeating. So we're going to start with our first row, and our first stitch, which we didn't cover in the practice section, was just a slip stitch, and the reason we didn't practice this is because it's as simple as slipping the first stitch off of the left hand needle and onto the right hand needle. You don't need to do anything else. Each of the rows will start with a slip stitch. It just keeps the edge really nice and neat. So all you do for the very first stitch on every single row is just slip that stitch off. So our first one, as we go into our pattern, will be a knit stitch. So up through the top, wrap your yarn around, and then push your loop off. And with a knit stitch, as you saw from the practice, we have our yarn in the back. Now, as you can see from your pattern, our next stitch is a purl stitch. So what we need to do is we need to bring this yarn from the back, our working yarn, over to the front, and then complete our purl stitch. And drop your loop off. The same again, so the next stitch is a knit stitch. As you'll see from row 1, it's knit purl right to your last 2 stitches. So we just need to take our working yarn back over the top and knit one, and then bring it forward again for our purl stitch. Just remember that if you do make a mistake, this yarn is really easy to work with, so you will be able to, so for example, if you did, I'll just do the mistake here, if you did a couple of knit stitches and then realised that you should have done a purl here, it is really simple. You can just slip that off, pull the yarn, and then you've got your stitch back there, and you can pop it on and do the correct one that you need to do. So we'll finish that row, which is our row 1 of knit and purls, all the way down to our last 2 stitches. Just remembering to always bring your yarn forward and backward for your knit and your purl stitches.
Summer wind blowing, feeling alive, sunshine in my eyes will thrive. Dancing on the sand, waves crash at our feet. Heat on our skin, summer's beat. Surfboards in our hands, we ride the tide. Underneath the palm trees, we feel alive. Summer vibes, reaching for the sky. We're unstoppable, no need to ask why. Living in the moment, hearts full of fire. In this summer's rhythm, we never tire. Running through the fields, chasing the sun, singing our hearts.
Now we've come to the end of our last 2 stitches, and again, as we did with the first one, to slip the stitch, to keep the edges neat, we're going to always knit the last stitch. So instead of a knit purl, we're just going to do 2 knit stitches here, and that will keep the other edge really nice and neat for you. So you've done your first row of our baby blanket pattern. Now to start onto the second row, all we need to do is just flip our work over, and then this will become the left hand needle and this will become the right hand needle. So row 2, you'll notice, starts with the slip stitch as usual, and then goes on to the purl stitch, and that will be purl knit all the way through right to the end. Okay, so we're just going to slip our first stitch. We slip with our needle going this way, that's called slipping it knitwise. So we're going to slip our stitch knitwise, and then to do the purl stitch we need to bring our yarn forward. So bring your working yarn into the front and purl that stitch. I'll unravel a little bit more yarn there, and then onto our knit stitch. So bring your yarn over to the back, round out and slip that one off. Okay, so you're starting to complete your second row there. So forward for the purl stitch. Remember to go, if you go as you're going along, to tick off your row, if that helps you to keep track of what row that you're on. But once we've done a few rows, I will show you how to double check that. So if you forget to tick it off on your tracker and you're not sure which row you're on, I'll show you how to figure out which row you should be on next. So we're just going to complete our second row of our baby blanket. Our second row completed. So then we turn our work and bring your yarn around. You can knit this on straight needles. I've sent you circular needles with the wire, it just is a bit more flexible, easier to learn on, I think, and you can fit more stitches on so they don't get all bunched up when you're doing something a bit bigger like a blanket. So we're now on to our second row. So sorry, we've just finished our second row. We're now on to our third. If you wanted to tick off row 1 and row 2 on your tracker, you will notice on the pattern that rows 2 and 3 are the same. So we're just going to do that all again for row 3. So we'll slip our first stitch and then bring our yarn forward and then back again for row 3.
Sun is out, blue sky, ooh yeah, feel the breeze, palm trees, oh my, feet in sand, drink in hand, let's fly, dance all night, feel so right, don't lie, I'm on vacation, no more work, just play all day, I'm on vacation, hooray, let's get lost, let's stay okay. Pack the bags, hit the road, let's go. Music loud, singing proud, solo. Friends around, party town, glow. Life is sweet, feel the beat.
There we go. So that's the end of row 3 done there. And again, as always, turn your work. And our stitches are on our left hand needle. And we're going to move them over to our right hand needle for the last row. And you'll see that on row 4, it's exactly the same as you did on row 1. And that's the set. They will keep repeating after that. So again, you can tick off row 3 on your tracker, and then we'll get on with row 4. So again, as always, just slip knitwise the first stitch, keeping those edges really nice and neat. One of the tricks I think with knitting as well is to just be mindful of your tension so that you're not knitting, pulling it too tight, because then it starts to become really difficult to get your needle back into those stitches. So just keep it as loose as possible and try and maintain that all the way through. So row 4, slip our first stitch, and we are going to knit 1 and purl 1 all the way through until our last 2 stitches. While we knit our last 2 stitches, unravel some more there. And there we go, we have completed set 1 of 15, those first 4 rows. What I was going to say as well about if you're not too sure whether you've made a mistake or not, you'll be able to figure out what row you're on, as we've just done the first 4 rows. And if you can see here, each row is creating these little ridges here. So we've got row 1 here, and then row 2, then row 3, and row 4. So if you're ever stuck and you're not sure which row you're supposed to be on next, you can count your little ridges here: row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. And then the next set, row 1, will start up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So then we'll go on to set 2, which is row 1 again. If you can see here with the ridges, so we've done 5 rows now. So we've done the set 1 and then the first row of set 2. So you've got row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. And if you see here, we've got the next ridge appearing here. So if you was to lose track, you can just count those along that way. What I also wanted to show you was if you, depending on the colour that you've chosen, you might have a second ball of yarn to attach, or you might find that as you're going along, sometimes it can happen with chenille yarn that you'll get a break in your yarn. So I just wanted to show you how to rejoin the yarn if that does happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut up there just so that you can see what to do if you do end up with a break in your yarn, or you do need to rejoin it. All you would do is just take the working yarn here and continue as you would normally, and then you can pop your working yarn over the top and just join like that. You just need to be mindful not to then carry on knitting with the bit that you've just cut or that's broken off or that you've just rejoined. You can rejoin the yarn anywhere that you like throughout your row. So for example, if you'd done a knit and a purl and then realised that you had a break in your yarn, all you would do, pop that there, and then I just sort of loop that over the top and then carry on. What you will find is that you'll have a bit of a gap if you do that when you're initially knitting, but you can just close that up. So I normally would pull those two bits of yarn together and just tie a knot there just to keep that secure, and then you can tie those bits off later on. So you have knitted your 15 sets of your baby blanket and you are ready to cast off. I just wanted to talk you through the casting off and mostly how to secure this type of chenille yarn, because it can be a little bit prone to fraying. So I'll show you the best way to secure it off at the end to make sure that you don't that doesn't happen. So what we need to do is just cast off our 27 stitches. So as you learned in the practice with the practice yarn, we just knit the first 2 stitches and then we're going to pass this first stitch over the top and off, leaving us with just 1. We need to make sure that we've always got 2 on this side before we cast off. So we'll knit our second stitch and then we'll pass this one over the top. As you can see here, that's starting to secure your last row of your blanket there. Again, what you want to do with this is keep it really loose, even more so than what you did when you were knitting. Otherwise it'll end up sort of making more of a triangular shape if you're not careful, or it will go sort of tighter and shorter at the other end. So try and keep your yarn as loose as possible when you're wrapping that round to cast off. See, I've just left quite a bit of yarn there just to make sure that the edge doesn't start to pull itself in. Over the top there. You can see here, look, that we're starting to secure this edge nice and neatly here. Because this yarn is so thick, what you can do is if you're finding it fiddly to push your needle through there, to be honest, you can just pull that over. If you're using like thinner yarn, double knit or thinner, then it will be easy to do it with your needle, but you might find it a bit easier to do it like this, but either way is fine. And keeping that working yarn nice and loose as you're casting off, and you can see here that that's making a nice little neat line there as you're casting off. And then we want to do this all the way down until you get to your last stitch, and then you'll need your scissors just to cut any excess off at the end. last stitch right on the end there. If we just pull that out so that we don't lose where we are, take your scissors and leave sort of quite a substantial amount at the end, just to help you secure it. I'll just cut that there. You can see here it will start to fray at the ends, but we're going to get rid of that in just a moment. So what we want to do is just pull that bit of working yarn that you've just cut through that loop, and that will give you the initial knot, but we need to secure it a few more times along the edge. So what I find best to do is to knot it like this, just pull through and pull that through, and I'll do that a few times just to make sure that that's really secure. So I'll pull it through here. I just find that that's the best way to stop that fray at the end, and I'll do that a few times along just to make sure that even if the first knot does unravel, you've got several more along. Might find it best as well just to push that down there, just to make sure that that's really secure and that's not going anywhere. And then what you would need to do is just cut that excess off, and then what I would do is just pull away the excess fluff there, and you'll find some string underneath, and just cut that off there. Okay, and that's the same at the other end where you cast on. So you'll have your tail at the other end where you first cast on, so you'd need to secure that in the same way.